Samsung has just launched loads of new stuff, and I've touched all of it. What an intro. So last year, Samsung unpacked for the S25 launch was in January. Now, this year, it's in February. It's thrown everyone. It's been one of those starts to the year that just hasn't made sense anywhere, but it's all good stuff because we have had Samsung's announcements, and Samsung do a couple of things with people like myself when it comes to these big launches. The first thing is that we get a hands-on session a few weeks before the big event, and then some of us, including me, get invited to the launch event itself. So as I'm speaking now to you, if you're watching this just after the launch event, I'm probably in San Francisco. Anyway, that first hands-on session is what this video is about. So this isn't a full review. That's impossible. I've not had the phones for any amount of time at this point in time, but I have had hands-on with them. And this is a really interesting launch. I'm focusing on the S26 Ultra? Why can't I say Ultra? The S26 Ultra, the flagship one. That is the one that this video is about. However, there's a hidden gem. Let's get straight into it. Before I do that, just a very quick mention of my newsletter. I very rarely do this. I need to do it more often. Every week we send out a newsletter which features stuff that doesn't end up on this channel and gives you early access to giveaways and all sorts of stuff. We'll put a link in the description and the pinned comment. I'm all kind of excited about this video. Let's get cracking. Samsung has announced the S26, the S26 Plus and the S26 Ultra and Buds 4 Pro, which look really interesting. I'm definitely checking those earbuds out. But today, like I say, we're going to focus on the flagship phone. So it's the slimmest Ultra ever, which is no surprise. Phones keep getting slimmer. If you're wondering, that means it's 0.3 millimeters thinner and 4 grams lighter than this, the S25 Ultra. In person, it's not massively different, to be honest, because that's not a huge change in thickness, but it is thinner and it's lighter. The key thing with this is the battery life. Now, the battery is the same size as last time. It's the exact same size battery that's in this one. I haven't had that phone for any amount of time, but I will be testing it. So I'll be doing some proper real-world battery testing to see if the thinness and the lightness has had any impact on the battery life. That said, we do now get 60-watt wired charging, which means 75% can be achieved in just 30 minutes, and 25-watt wireless charging. So it will charge a fair bit quicker than this, which is fantastic. When it comes to the design, it looks fairly similar to the S25 Ultra, but there are some differences. It has rounded corners now, or more rounded corners. These are rounded as well, but it's much more of a rounded phone. It's less boxy than this. The one downside with that is that the S Pen can sit non-flush. Does that make sense? The S Pen on the new one has got a little rounded corner, so you can actually technically put it in the wrong way. It still goes in, it still works, it doesn't break the S Pen, it's absolutely fine, but it misaligns that corner if you put it in the wrong way around. Is that a big deal? Not really, but people will pick up on that and it's worth mentioning. Overall though, it's a really handsome phone still. I love the look of the S25 Ultra. When I did my comparison between this and the iPhone, the Pro Max, I preferred this because it looks really stylish, really simple, but just purposeful and just a lovely phone. It feels like you're getting a lot for your money, and I can confirm that the S26 Ultra feels like you're getting a lot for your money as well. In terms of the colors, we have cobalt violet, which is the hero color. There's no orange, which I'll get over that, but they're nice. They just look, again, handsome, and there are some, internet specials as well if you want to get a bit fruity with the S26 Ultra. But what about the big update this year? One of the biggest rumors about the S26 Ultra was this privacy display, and I can confirm it has one. In fact, you know that because the launch event has happened. But if you need it kind of explaining in very easy human language that someone like myself can understand, it basically means that this phone's display can selectively dim pixels. So if you're on the train next to me and you're doing that really annoying thing where you're going and looking at my text messages and my banking details, you can't see anything in theory because the pixels that you're looking at are dimmer. Now, in reality, it doesn't completely make the screen disappear, but it does dim it enough to make shoulder surfing, as they call it, a very annoying process. And I'm all for this. I really am. I hate that. I really hate that when you know the person next to you is watching what you're doing on your phone. It's just rude. Don't look at my phone. It's my stuff. For Samsung to make such a big deal about this, and I know people will correct me in the comments if this is wrong, but I'm fairly sure this is definitely a world's first in terms of baked-in privacy stuff, tech built into the phone. Because yes, you can get screen protectors that do this. You put a screen protector on pretty much any phone and it gives you that same kind of effect. But what Samsung has done is they've done it at the hardware level. So the phone is doing all of that clever pixel dimming stuff, and it gets even smarter. So you can set it to dim certain interface elements. So if you just want certain notifications to be dimmed, you can do that. You can have timed privacy display coming on as well. So if if it's certain times of the day where you want that to be on during, for instance, your morning commute, you can do that. You can set rules for location as well and specific apps. So for instance, if your banking app is the one that you want to trigger the privacy mode straight away without you doing anything, you can do that. You can instigate it via Bixby, via talking to the phone, and also it's accessible via the drop-down quick settings menu. It's really smart, and in practice it works. And it works from left and right and up and down. So if someone is above you or below you, they can't see what's going on your screen either. If you're wondering, it doesn't seem to affect the quality of the display at all. If you're looking at it head on, it doesn't get dimmer. It's still bright. It's still very vibrant. It's still that beautiful Samsung display that we're all used to. And yes, it still has that anti-reflective coating on it, which is just magic. I don't know why other manufacturers don't have that, but it basically doesn't affect the quality of the screen at all. There is a maximum privacy mode, which dims the peripheral vision further, but that does dim the overall display a little bit more, but it's just an option. But just having that as a key feature this year is absolutely fantastic. The camera system, they have focused on improving low light performance and a very clever video feature, which I'll explain in a moment. The main sensor is still 200 megapixels, but it has a much bigger, much wider f1.4 aperture, which means apparently 47% better low light performance. The telephoto, the 3 times, gets a new sensor for better HDR, and the 5 times gets a wider f2.9 aperture. The camera system I need to test. I've just had it in a room in Samsung's office, and there's a few photos I've taken that you can see here, but I will put it through its paces in my full review. Remember to hit subscribe not to miss that, by the way. The really impressive thing that I saw though was this kind of 360-degree horizontal lock for video. So the idea is that if you're trying to film your mate going down a ski slope, people do that I presume, and you're kind of doing this, the horizontal lock means that the horizon stays resolutely level. So no matter what you're doing with the phone, the image, in theory, the footage should be nice and stable. Now again, I only tested this in Samsung land and I do need to try it out in the wild, but it's very impressive. These clips that you're seeing here are me really going like that, properly moving the phone around, and it's pretty impressive. What I'd love to know from you guys is what phones do you want me to test the Samsung S26 Ultra against in terms of the camera system? Let me know down below. Next up, we have, AI. Before you stop watching this video, I know there's a lot of fatigue around AI, and I completely agree with you, by the way. I hate what it's doing to creativity. I hate the fact that you can type a sentence into a text box and get a video or a music video or a piece of music made for you. It destroys everything human that we have built over centuries. That aside, when it comes to AI on these kinds of devices, Samsung has been ahead of the pack for quite a while. I think Samsung and Google combined have such a march on AI. Agentic AI is the next thing, and it's the thing that's going to take the Gemini that we have, not Gemini, Galaxy AI that we have on devices like the S25 Ultra to something much more proactive on devices like the S26 Ultra. So for instance, imagine you're having a text message conversation with someone and they say to you, are you free for dinner next Wednesday? Now normally you'd have to then go into your calendar app, go to next Wednesday and do all that faffing around. With Agentic AI, the thing that's coming to Galaxy AI with this new series of phones, it will do all of that for you. So it will go into your calendar behind the scenes, look at next Wednesday, look at the evening and say, okay, great, he's got time, he's free, and give you that information as a suggested reply in the messaging app. Apparently it can do things with images as well. So if someone says, how was your trip to the French Alps? It can very, very quickly pick out a bunch of photos from your gallery and suggest that you share them with your friend on that messaging app. Something I completely forgot to mention in the studio is the fact that Galaxy AI can now do automation. So for instance, if you need to call an Uber, it can do it for you. It fires up the app, it does all of the stuff that you would normally do yourself, and it looks very cool. The only thing to bear in mind with this is that it's only available in the US and Korea to begin with, but it will filter down to other countries. Back to me in the studio. That's the kind of AI I can get on board with. And it's the kind of AI we've been promised by other players in this field, and we haven't seen it yet. So if Samsung gets first to the post with it again, which it sounds like they might be, that's a real feather in their cap, but I have to reserve judgment until I've tried it. The other thing that was quite interesting is Audio Eraser. So if you missed this last year, this was basically an AI tool that helps you adjust the audio levels in video that you shoot yourself. Let's say your kid is singing to you in the local park and you've got lots of background noise that you want to get rid of. Audio Eraser can help with that, and it's very clever. I tested it in my review of the S25 Ultra last year, and it's brilliant. What they've done in the new phones is enable Audio Eraser to be accessed in third-party apps. So for instance, if you're sat at work watching the football highlights and the crowd noise is a little bit too loud, but you still want to hear what the commentator's saying, you can pull down the Audio Eraser option from the quick settings menu and take away the crowd noise. It's really clever and it works. There was also a very interesting update to Bixby, which can now respond to natural requests and things that you say about settings on the phone. So for instance, if you say, oh, that screen's a bit bright or it's hurting my eyes, Bixby can then point you in the direction of the right setting to change, to make the eye comfort stuff better for you. You get the point. It's just this kind of digital assistant AI stuff help, which means you can interact with your phone more naturally. I've just got to test it. Right, we do need to talk about the pricing. Okay, the first thing to mention is that Samsung has removed the 128GB option from the S26 and the S26 Plus. They both start at 256GB, which is good news because that's more storage, but it does mean that the base pricing has completely vanished and it's got more expensive because you're starting at a higher price point. There's also been a price rise across the board. Interestingly, the one that has been affected the least by this is the base model 256GB S26 Ultra. That's only had a marginal price increase. The other ones have had a little bit more on top of them. That said, Samsung is doing double storage until the 10th of March, which kind of negates any price hike. And also, most people, I think, get these phones on monthly carrier deals, so you're not going to notice much of this. But we do need to mention that just in case you buy them outright. But as always, Samsung is doing some very tempting launch offers if you buy early. Now for the dark horse, which I think is the standard S26, because unlike the S26 Ultra, it's got a bigger battery than before. It's got a bigger display as well, so they've gone to 6.3 inches for the standard S26. The only slight downside, if it's a downside, is the fact that unless you live in the US or China, you don't get the Snapdragon chip in the S26 or the S26 Plus. You get the Exynos 2600. However, Samsung is saying that that chip is incredibly more performant than the one that it replaces. It's 2 nanometer as well, so it's 1 less nanometer than the latest gen Snapdragon 8 Gen. What is that one called? It's the one that's in the S26 Ultra. We'll put the name down here. It's a really weird name, but that obviously you get that one in the S26 Ultra, and it is tuned by for by Samsung, whatever. But yeah, you don't get that if you buy, for instance, the S26 or S26 Plus in the UK. I don't think it matters these days. I think these chips are so well tuned. I think the software is so in tune with those chips that it's unlikely to be a problem. But again, a little bit like the misaligned S Pen thing, it's going to get picked up and people will talk about it. So I do have to mention it. But all that aside, I didn't review the regular S25 last year, but I think I should have done because the S26, just like the iPhone 17, appears to be the phone that most people will enjoy. And it's got enough. It's got a great camera from the looks of it. It's got a great battery. It looks great. It's just the one to go for potentially. But I know if you're like me, you'll be tempted by the Ultra. With that in mind, I'd love to know in the comments which of these phones you're tempted by and what you want me to to talk about and what you want me to test specifically when I do a full review of the S26 Ultra. Because by the time you're watching this and I'm talking here, I'll have it and I'll be using it. Get involved, and if you haven't subscribed yet, you know what to do. Cheers.